In 1979, a young Japanese man named Haruki Murakami left his jazz bar to attend a baseball game. It was the kind of place where fans gathered for greasy food and drinks, but that day, something unusual happened. As Murakami watched the game, a stray thought crossed his mind, one that had never occurred to him before. A seemingly ordinary moment would become life-changing. The idea of becoming a writer took hold, and it was the birth of Murakami, the writer. Today, Murakami is far more than just a household name. His books can be found on shelves across the globe, in charity shops, airport bookstores, and homes from Japan to the Western world. But how did a Japanese author, starting in the 1980s, become one of the most well-known literary voices of our time? To understand his global appeal, we need to explore the unique blend of influences and themes that have shaped his work. Murakami's rise as a writer came at a time when Japan was still grappling with the aftermath of World War II, and his work captures the emotional and social disorientation that many people felt during that period. Born in Kyoto in 1949, Murakami grew up in many different cities, including Kobe, immersed in both Japanese and Western cultures. His parents, both teachers of literature, exposed him to a vast range of works, from Japanese classics to Russian and European literature. This blend of East and West is crucial to understanding Murakami's writing. Growing up in post-war Japan, Murakami was fascinated by Western music, particularly jazz, and the works of authors like Franz Kafka, Charles Dickens, Kurt Vonnegut, and Jack Kerouac. These influences helped him craft a literary style that stood out in the Japanese literary scene, one that fused the surreal, the melancholic, and the mundane. His unique ability to merge these two worlds, combining Western literary influences with the sensibilities of modern Japanese life, is a key factor in his widespread appeal. Norwegian Wood, his breakout novel published in 1987, reflects these dual influences. Set against the backdrop of 1960s Japan, a time of student protest and social upheaval, the novel explores the universal themes of love, loss, and identity through the lens of deeply personal and intimate experiences. This historical setting, though not overtly political in the novel, provides an undercurrent of unrest and change, reflecting the uncertainties faced by a generation trying to find its place in a rapidly modernising society. Norwegian Wood can be described in many ways: suicide, first love, alienation, university life, and even sexism. But it's in these varied descriptions that we find what makes Murakami's work so compelling. It addresses universal issues that transcend time and place. Norwegian Wood speaks to modern life, touching on loneliness, young love, and anxiety, experiences that are relatable across generations. At the heart of the novel is Watanabe's struggle with grief and loneliness, themes that permeate every aspect of the story. Murakami's depiction of Watanabe's isolation feels remarkably modern, reflecting the solitude so many of us feel in an increasingly disconnected society. Even in a city as vast as Tokyo, Watanabe drifts through life detached, his relationships with Naoko and Midori often clouded by his emotional distance. Music also plays a significant role in the novel. Named after the Beatles' song Norwegian Wood, the novel constantly references music from the 1960s, creating an emotional soundtrack to Watanabe's life. The song itself, with its melancholic and nostalgic tones, mirrors the bittersweet and often painful reflections of Watanabe's youth. Murakami often uses music to express emotions that words cannot, and in this novel it heightens the sense of longing and regret that pervades the narrative. Watanabe's experience is one of clear abjection. When we look at the critical theory's idea of abjection, we find an all too familiar narrative which fits Murakami's protagonist. Abjection is the state of being cast off and separated from norms and rules, especially on the scale of society and morality. Watanabe is abject in his estranged relationship with Naoko, his abnormal sexual relationship with Midori, and then his general passive and unconnected emotion to Tokyo, the university, and the world in which he lives. Watanabe is like a ghost in the night. He simply glides through Tokyo, seemingly never leaving a mark of his presence. The relationships in Norwegian Wood are complex, and Murakami uses them to explore deeper themes of love, guilt, and identity. Watanabe's first significant relationship is with Naoko, his late best friend Kazuki's girlfriend. Their bond is heavily shadowed by Kazuki's sudden suicide, an event that haunts both Watanabe and Naoko throughout the novel. Murakami offers a nuanced portrayal of grief, showing how it corrodes even the most intimate connections. Sexuality in Norwegian Wood is often depicted as both a source of connection and emotional confusion. Watanabe's sexual relationships with Naoko, and later with Midori, reflect his inner turmoil. With Naoko, sex is tied to grief and guilt, complicating any chance of emotional healing. Meanwhile, his flirtation with Midori offers the possibility of a more genuine connection, yet Watombi remains tethered to the past. Murakami uses these relationships to illustrate the messy, often painful journey of navigating young love and loss. Midori, in contrast to Naoko, is vibrant, forward, and open about her desires. Her dynamic with Watombi represents a possible escape from the emotional burden of the past. Yet as much as Watombi seems to care for her, he remains emotionally stunted by his unresolved feelings for Naoko. This love triangle creates a tension that persists until the novel's final pages, reflecting Murakami's theme of the past's inescapable hold on the present. In Norwegian Wood, Murakami masterfully explores the destruction and the after effects that suicide, grief, and guilt have on a person's character. It's a novel that doesn't offer easy answers or closure, much like life itself. For Watombi, the story is about coming to terms with his trauma, his love for Naoko, and his growing feelings for Midori. By the end, he's forced to confront his past in order to move forward. But as readers, we're left with the haunting sense that some wounds may never fully heal. For me, Norwegian Wood resonates deeply because it captures the confusion and heartache of coming of age. Murakami doesn't shy away from the darker sides of love and loss, and in doing so, he offers readers a brutally honest reflection of real life. It's a novel that stays with you long after you've finished it. Its themes of loneliness, grief, and young love are as relevant today as they were when Murakami first wrote them.